Okay. We're good.
All right, everyone. Hello. My name is Zahar, and I'm project lead for MoonSpice games. And today, I want to show you a status update on the dealer's dilemma. But before that, I would love to do a recap if you didn't see our previous presentation. I would start with the story. So, you're playing as Armadillo, whose name is Dilo, and in the strange turn of events, he ends up partnering with the friend, the Firefly, in order to defeat the Red King. So Dilo uses his genius ideas in order to travel around the world and save his friends. And he utilizes the pinball structures in order to defeat the force and free his friends. So now let's go to over the gameplay loop recap. So here's our core gameplay. You go into the overworld. This is a huge levels that consist out of 4 smaller ones that are called forts. So you get into the level, you proceed through the level to the fort, and you enter the secondary gameplay loop. The secondary gameplay loop consists of the survey stage, where you see the fort, you see the objectives you need to complete, and you can plan around it. Then you enter the build mode. This is the mode whenever you place pinball structures and gears. So after placing them, you get into the rescue mode, and this is where you beat the fort. After that, if you are able to beat the fort, you get a new pingas, and the cycle continues. If you are not able to do it, you lose and try to beat the fort again. So now let's talk a little bit about our art, how much time we spent on the art and what we've done. So here's the dealer time spent. Like, this is the dealer ball form. The main form you're gonna see a lot in the game because you're gonna roll around in this form. We spent 4 hours modeling it and 2 hours retopologizing. Then let's now get into the development part of the model. So we spent 32 hours to model dealer. Then spent 10 hours retopologizing him. So he's a nice guy who can get into the engine. Later on, we spent 12 hours to create the clothes. So he, I feel like he reminds me of one guy who is here. I don't know. Or strange. And then we spent 26 hours on rigging him, so we can put animations on him. And overall, dealer took 80 hours to create, and he has 80,000 polygons. Also, you can see here that this is dealer inside the engine. This is him with cell shading and without cell shading that we can have. Here, let's move on to the tag. Tag is the Red King. It's his name. Yeah, he has a name. And he's still in development, and this is what we have so far, and how much time we spent on him. And we will continue working on him after the vertical slice. So let's talk about the pingas. How much time we spent on developing them and for the models. Currently in the game we have 3 pinball structures: the bumper, the puncher, and the spring. And this is how much they took, and I feel like they look good, but we can improve on them and a little bit of reward. So now, beware. I would say, listen. If you're afraid of rough animations, please close your eyes. I will not repeat myself. Okay, I gave you enough time. So this is the rough animations that we have. We are contrasting animators, and they didn't really have much time to work on them. So we're going to continue working the way to improve our animations and have them as nice as possible. But so far, this is what we have and how much time they spend on it. So now I want to go into the levels and show how the levels look like right now. This is the fork structure. Like that, on the left, you can see that the level does not have fork, and on the right, it has the fork. We feel like that it gives more immersion, and this is like what the mountain region really looks like. You can't even you can't see too far away in the horizon, and the fog gives this feeling. So now to the VFX. These are the VFX that you're gonna see a lot in the game. So this is the rolling VFX, the transformation to the wall VFX, and the jump VFX. You're gonna see them while you're in demo, so you'll see them in engine even better. But this is so you can see how they work outside the game. So now I want to talk a little bit about our milestones, small ones. So for controller, we would love to continue working on the controller and get it to the point where it feels good. Because our game is about going on a fast speed, so the player needs to understand what he does in the game and what his response, what his inputs will bring him. So that's why we want, by the end of March, we want to have character control completed. So it's functionally implemented, it doesn't have any large bugs, and it's fully integrated in the game. And in one sprint, we would love to polish it to the point that we would not really need to work on it anymore unless something pops out. No, it's game development. So now let's get to the UI. Here's two UI elements that we have in the forts. On the left part, you can see the planning mode. This is when you see the fort's name and the objective that you need to do in order to beat the fort. And on the right screen side, you can see the win screen, basically. This is how good you beat the fort and how much score you got. And the next element is the dialogue. We improved on our dialogue system now, so we can proceed with our story. Right now, the prompt that we have is we want to understand which do we want to continue going with the 2D sprites, or we want to transfer into the 3D models. And we'll see, but so far I like what we have. But we need to compare them and see what feels better for our game. So this is networking showcase, some more games. So we almost hit everything that we wanted for our networking for vertical slice. We have two players in the same space. You can see them transforming into the wall form, and they are able to affect each other. So you can see in the second that they can move each other, and that's what we wanted to achieve so far. Let's get to, however, networking is a thing that takes a lot of time. So we decided to go with the cutoff date and decision. So March 30th is the decision date when now we will say if we're going to proceed working on networking or not. By this time, we want to hit a few milestones that will decide on it. We would love to have Dilo in the build mode, two players to have the build mode. We would love them to share the collectibles, and we need to do some latency tests. And by the end of April, we would love to continue the feature that were completed in the feature ones. So we would love to have multiplayer lobby, players being able to reconnect to each other, scoring system, and we would love to have emotes. Initially we planned to have emotes in a way that it's animations, but right now we understand that it will not be possible for the most part. So we would stick with the emotes that you saw in the 2D sprites, like in the UI. Let's go to the sound effects. This is how much sound effects took us. So we're going to have one composition, and this took us because a lot of time, because we were trying to find out the pipeline that we want to hit to understand the style that we are pursuing in our audio design. And I'm sure that our voice audio will decrease because we found the pitches we want and the sound we want to the characters have. So let's go to the next. So now I want to talk about level design. I will go through a few stages of level design and how our levels evolved so far. And how much time it took us to get to the point where we are right now. So the farmland level is the first level of the game. The level design document took 4 hours to be completed. Then we went into blockout stage, and the blocking out of the first part of the farmland took 56 hours. The farmland is a large level, so we had to break it down into 2 parts. And so far we are completely done with the first part. Almost. So then set tracing took 31 hours, and it looks so good. But you know what looks better? This level with light, which took 10 hours to play. Then we play tested this level for 15 hours to find out the bugs and fix them. And it took us additional 7 hours to polish the level. So in total, it took us 116 hours to complete the level. And it's collaborative work, so several people work on this level. Now I want to talk about the forts, because it's part of the huge levels. We have to talk more. So the level design document took 1 hour to complete. Then the fort block out is 4 hours for the medium-sized fort. After that, 5 hours to set dress it, to make it fancy. And 2 hours to implement it inside the engine. So every single feature is inside. It's possible to beat the fort, to get the windscreen, and to get through every single stage of our secondary gameplay. Then to light it is 6 additional hours. And playtesting is 5 hours. You know what's funny? We took 5 hours to playtest it, but to polish the fort, it took us 6 hours. So forts are very, the feedback for the forts is an interesting thing that you need to be wary of, that we need to be wary of. But overall, approximately it takes 29 hours to complete one fort. So it's one sprint. Now let's talk about the second level, that is currently in development. It's the Red Kingdom. The Red Kingdom, as you can see, it has a completely different UI. So we go from the bright farmland that is close to Armadillo Village to the Red Kingdom, the dark place that the Reds live. And their forts are also different. They have more industrial parts to them compared to the farmland that has more wood, and we would love to show these differences between the Reds and Yellows. So now I want to talk about how would we hit our our targets that we set for the vertical slice. I want to talk about the yellow parts that we were unable to finish. So we were not able to get the Frank and Dila's voice both together. Currently, Dila and Frank have the same voices, but we know what we want from them, and it's going to be a faster iteration now. The involved structures are not animated, but we know what we want to have from them, and this animation will take a few hours to do. And same for the Dila. Animation, I showed them, so we will need to continue working on it. The same with the rig, we want to have some improvements to the rig, so animators can have easier time animating it. And then for the mechanical wise, it also looks pretty good. We didn't hit, the only thing that we didn't hit is opening menu. I'll be honest with you, we didn't even start doing it, so you will not see it. But networking wise, we didn't do the latency test to the point that we are satisfied with it. And gameplay test, we did some gameplay testing, but it was never in the overworld level. And that's what we plan to achieve in the next few sprints. Now I want to talk about the things that I think improved our management and our team morale overall. So we decided to do our first retrospective in the beginning of February. And the results were interesting. So we found out that we need to do a better pre-sprint backlog grooming, and we tried to do it, and it really helped. Our scope increase went from 90% to 30%. And another thing that we also got to know that we didn't really have a good bug report pipeline, and we quickly created it. And it turned out to be very useful, especially the last week of playtesting. We found out so many bugs, and we were able to fix a lot of them pretty quickly. Then we found out that we need to clean up our folder structure. And I'll be honest with you, we are not done with that. It's still in progress, but we will do it because we need for it to be more functional. Now, I want to talk about the core hours, another concept that helped us a lot. The core hours are the concept when we ask our team to come to FIEA, to our Cohort space during the time of this class. So it's during the capstone class. So from 3 to 4:15 on Tuesday and Thursday, they are here. And you can see that it helped us increase the productivity from Tuesday to Thursday, due to the fact that on Tuesday people get into collaboration, they talk about the tasks they have, they can discuss the problems they have. Then on Wednesday work on the task, and on Thursday get the questions they had left answered and just finish their task normally. Now a little bit about meeting time. I know in the previous status update I told you that we will decrease the meeting times, but yeah, the chart doesn't really show that. But listen, please. The meeting time is actually the yellow thing, the yellow color. So during the first sprint, we had 34 hours of meeting time, and it decreased to 22 hours. And I think we hit the pretty sweet spot of 22 hours per sprint of meeting time. And we should consider also one more fact, that during the first sprint, we didn't have the Scrum meetings that we now have like twice a week for 15 minutes per person. So that's where the meeting time comes from. And the bonding experience, 24 or 21 hours of bonding experience, I feel like people liked it. And it's, you might see the chart going up, but the productivity go down, so the chart will not go up very much. But it helped us. And retrospective. Retrospective took us 22 hours. It's the same time as overall all meetings we had during the sprint. But it was our very first retrospective. And we got to know what we need to do during it, so we will decrease the time during now for the next retrospectives. Oh, and you can see us here after our first bonding event. So, and now I want to talk about the things that we are sure we're gonna hit according to the statistics. So we're gonna be able to hit 8 forwards, 2 total overworld levels, 2.5 characters, like Tag and Dila, and Marita she's gonna be like this all the time. You're gonna see half of her body, and she does not really require a lot of animation due to that fact. We're gonna have 6 total pingers because they're quite easy to make and they're fun. They give you a lot of gameplay. And we would like to do the upgrade system for the default ones, so they feel better and don't lag behind the new ones. So these low priority, low priority things. This is a nice to have, actually like stretch goals, I would say. We would like to have 2 total cutscenes that are flipbook style. So we want to have introduction cutscene and the ending cutscene. We would like to have 4 music compositions, like 1 music composition for Fort on each level, like for Red Kingdom and Farmland level, and the same for the overworld levels. And we would like to do the Armadillo Village. What is Armadillo Village, you might ask? It is a hub world. It's the place where Dilo just rolls around, don't care about the forts, and just it connects to 2 levels. Red Kingdom and Farmland. So now let's talk about the milestones. We're almost done, guys. We're almost about to show the game. So by the March 9th, we would like to hit our first playtest pass, have our Farmland level fully fleshed out after the playtesting, so we will not most likely touch it until we have more playtesters come. And Forts 1 and 2 are fully fleshed out, polished, and done. By March 30th, by the end of March, we would like to have the upgrade system, as I said before, multiplayer decision, and continue working on the force for the second part of the Dilo Farmland. And by April 13th, we would like to have Farmland Part 2 done. So the Farmland level is done by this time, and we can rotate, start working more on the Red Kingdom, on the second part of the Red Kingdom level. And we would like to have the rats swarm system fully done, so it interacts, it has all the features we would like to have. And by the end of this semester, we would like to complete all the bingos, have our multiplayer integrated in the level, in the game, and have half of the course done for the Red Kingdom. And that's it for the presentation. But before we go into the demo, I would like to say thanks to my whole team. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for developing Dilo. And let's continue doing that. Let's stay together. Look at these guys. They are so. Look, they argue, they have fun. They are Power Rangers also. Here, Power Rangers. But yes. Now, boom, demo. Solve dialogue. Now, yes, mark that. I'm going to go through the tutorial area, a small one that will introduce you. You can jump over this space without using the launcher. And by utilizing the speed of the launcher, you're able to hit the collectible, the Firefly collectible. Here you cross the bridge, and like looks like we can pass here. You can just destroy the plane and drop. And here's our first fort, the game. You can see that it's flying around, and it tells you the objective: rescue all 3 flights. 1 flight, 2 flight, 3 flight. And this is the build mode. This mode that you place your pinball structures in order to beat the level. Right now, Tempe places the puncher that gives you the forward force and the backward. So now, destroy it. Here are the rats that chase you. So Tempe needs to try not to. No, go. That was dangerous. You need to get And now we are saving the last Firefly and getting out of the level. Let's go. And that's how you beat the first level, the first fort. Now we get into the second part of the farmland. Then it just gives you a cool walk, like a cool guy. Here's the pinball gear and structure station that you can play. You can't normally place fingers inside the overworld level. So that's why you have these structures that allow you to place them in some locations. Then he tries to do the collectible. He gets the collectible, and now he needs to use it to get over the barn. Yeah, he's a completionist, he's collecting them all. And he's... You got it. Nice! Let's go. Now, we have 2 paths here. So you can go to this path. This is the path to explore this part of the level that consists of the few fireflies, straight to the fort 2. But we want to show a little more of the level. So we're gonna show a few more things. So right now Tempe is about to open up the barn and collect the firefly. These planks need a lot more force compared to the previous one. These are reinforced planks, so you need to use some structure in order to beat them, to gain enough speed to destroy them. And now Tempe wants to collect them all except before. So he goes very he's moving, but you know, you should be better, guys. Now he gets to the hill, where he will just show his cool skills that he can jump over there. Oh, nice. You know, and while flying over the farmland, you would have noticed a small firefly turning around. So, and now Tempe is getting to the last fort, the level that we currently have. And let's see, this level, this fort is much harder than the previous one. Let's see how good he is. It's not pressure, it's just like, you know, if you're not good in your game, it's bad.
What is this treatment I'm getting? Actually, please pressure.
It's placing a backup for yourself, so it's like more to give you more confidence. Go. Nice. Oh no! Now he has to wait and go down and lose the score. It's a great Tempe.
I just want to show off the gutter.
Nice. You should have done that in the first round. Third time is the charm. Nice. And now you get out. Nice, and you get the points. That's it. No time for feedback.
Yes, that's all.
Maybe Rich Grula first.
First of all, I love that you're doing, I'm going to call it sort of a simplistic, dumb sort of game. I would really like to play this game. And I think, you know, you showed this thing with fog and stuff. You know, there's a certain charm to like a really flat look for this kind of game. I wouldn't get too fancy. I know the art guys will probably disagree with me about this, but there's something really nice about it. The one suggestion I have, beyond balancing your sound, she was twitching so hard when you were hitting those tires. I would really like the ball to be revealed as the armadillo at times, because once I just start seeing ball, I forget about the armadillo. So perhaps on the jumps, the armadillo could be, you know, express itself or something. There was really, I mean, there's an opportunity for armadillo to throw funny faces or things like that. That would be, you would almost want to make it jump just to see what it does. And I think that would make it more like, you would remind that it's the armadillo. So
We have been talking about having like a BMO button that you can do to get more points in the fort if you do jump in there and then do a trick, so do like, you know, something like that.
yeah, I mean, it's, to me, it's just like should happen when it's jumping. It would be fun if it went back and forth from being the ball and the armadillo. Well, not when it's rolling, but when it's flying around and stuff. But I love everything you're doing with this. I think it's a lot of fun. So congratulations.
Really, you want to bring us up next?
Sure. So overall, I think it's coming along nicely. I really think it looks fun. I think that it has a pinball feel to it, so I'm not sure if that's what you're going for, if that was part of the intention. But if it is, I think you should really push that a lot with tubes and like lights and, you know, I mean, maybe that goes too far, but you could definitely add more to that feeling, and it would add to the fun, I think, of gameplay. Also, is there a timed aspect to this, like, or you were just speedrunning for the demo? But
So in the forts, in the overworld, in the main section, there isn't a time limit. When you go into the fort section, specifically, the rats are chasing after you, and if they catch you, they slow you down, and if they get you all the way, then you lose. So
Okay.
you're being chased.
okay, so maybe in there you get like a bonus points for completing it in certain time frames, so that
You're right.
might
The
be
score
helpful.
increases if you go past that.
If you pass without being caught. I do think that when you went into that gutter, it was way too dark. I couldn't even see what was going on. So maybe add some more like pools for light to come through in that area. The shader on the wheat or whatever that was looks really flat from a low angle. So I'm guessing it's the lighting that was making it look made it look more dimensional from the top, but when you're down lower, it was very flat and bright, so I don't know if that just needs a tweak or an adjustment. And then my biggest, like, was that the sound that you have on the text was just like nails on a chalkboard for me, so maybe rethink that a little bit. But overall, I really like it. Good job.
Mr. Ruda. All right, yeah, very cool. I have to say, this is, during your explanation, this is the first time the light went on in my head. Said, oh, this is a pinball game. It was legally, oh, I wish I had known about that beforehand, but then you actually did show it in your gameplay, so thank you very much. And I agree with Cheryl, bring it up. You know, really take advantage of that. If this is a pinball game, this is your primary core mechanic, this is what the game is about, so really go to town with it. Overall, the lighting, I'm a little bit concerned because I'm not quite sure if it's, the time of day is almost like direct noon. So it's right overhead, so it's very strong light. So I'm not sure if you actually have a cell shader on, or if it's just flat lighting. It's really hard to tell. And I think you need to push it in one direction or the other. And maybe change the time of day a little bit in order to make sure that there's no confusion. Either it's a cell shading or it's a 3D game. Now, and with that, I'm going to say that the animation, the walking around still needs a bit of love. The character floats out of the rolling stage, but you said watch out that the animation still is still very much in development. I'm not. The smoke effect feels like it's chasing the ball and not being and not coming from the ball, and so that kind of it's a matter of timing that you need to work on. Maybe it needs to the shell the smoking a little bit earlier. And once again, right now the smoke itself feels very flat and so forth. It doesn't match the world yet. It doesn't jive with it yet. But overall, I'm glad to see that you admitted about it's time to clean up the folder structures. And this is one of the things that I yell at adamantly, and better now than later. So I'm glad you had the come to Jesus moment and you're doing something about it. So cool work. I'm excited to see the results of this game.
Cool. Shall we get 3 or 4 minutes each from Nick?
Great. Go first.
Oh, I can't hear anymore.
All right.
So you guys came to me like before the demo, and you were asking about the font in the upper left-hand corner. And here's what I suggest. I suggest you fill it, and then you put it just a very light tone that's already exists in the wood, and then this feels to me almost like honey or something's like dripped over it, or like there's mustard on it or something. So you introduced a new shading in there, and introduced a new problem to it. So everything was working just fine. Just wanted to put a little bit of light in the inner part of it so it comes storage. Okay, so there's that. Can you go to the slide? I can't see, I can't hear, I can't see. 46, I see right there. There was different times where you're really, really bold. You were there. You were really, really bold with this black lettering that's on there, and it's not that it doesn't read well, it is reading too well, and it's drawing our attention to that. It kind of screams off the page, and it even becomes even more bold than the red that you have on the screen at times. And it's a contrast thing and how large that is. I know that there was a graphic that you guys did that had like torn paper behind it, and there was some smaller lettering with like I remember there was like an arrow or something. I can't remember. I don't know, but there was one part in there that I could look at, and I was like, I thought you guys kind of hit the balance of like how thick the line work should be and how thick the text should be on there. I know this is really nitpicky stuff, but you guys did a really good job of where this came from to where you're at now with the whole entire look. So I'm like, there's just these little tiny things I want to fix on this, and then I'm like, okay, you guys are done. You guys kind of have this look, you know. I do think your little bullet points were kind of weird at times. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do these open things or whatever. The beginning thing, you hit us with your Dylan's Dilemma
Concept logo.
concept logo?
Yes.
Ooh, we've been working on this logo for a really long time. Do you want to go to it real quick? Just take a look at it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, stay in the lines. Do you see that you're bleeding out past your black lines? Oh, we got a pointer, Tommy?
The top one.
Top one?
Lovely.
All right. See the fuzzies here and there and there and there and there? So here's my suggestion to you. Just, I thought you were doing this in 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Then you're not doing it in 3D.
Well, it's a concept.
Today is the big presentation. I wouldn't call it. Anyways, when I see work and I go, I feel like it's regressing and going backwards, I'm gonna be like, hey, what happened? My suggestion to you is just, you're gonna get the model, just forget about this weird perspective thing, just make it these letters and just make it 3D and make it cool. But I think you need to look at some examples of stuff that exists out there. Yeah. Then, if you go to the slide with Dillo, and he showed us the cell shaded thing, right? Okay, this is one slide where I'm like, you guys, I really wish that would have been bigger on screen. Again, you gotta help us old people out, and I can't hardly see, but anyways, when I looked at this, I think you said the one to the, no, the one in the middle is the one that's got the cell shading on it, right? The difference to me from this distance where I sit is so little, like I got confused again as to which one was which, right? I might have presented it, here's our model, here's it with regular shading, and here's with the final thing, and there should be enough of a difference to where you're like, yeah, this is actually happening, it's really working. The other thing I would expect with the cell shaded thing is you're gonna have some black outlines on the character, so that's another reason why I wasn't really quite working with that. I did like your smoke that you guys had on here, but I agree with Chris that it felt weird that it was like as the ball's moving, it's like got this weird kind of trail to it. So I think you guys are gonna have to fix that. And then while we're on this, you showed us Dillo with the textures.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this?
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
You want an explanation?
No, I don't.
Cool.
I don't.
Let's go.
Rick's famous saying is it doesn't exist unless it's done in the game, right? So even though you showed the slide, it's not done, didn't make it. And then my last thing is, I think this has got a ton of potential. I really like this idea with the pinball thing. I think it's really cool. I'm a little bit concerned about how big the environments are. Like you did a really good job playing the game and everything, so kudos for that. But then I'm sitting there looking at it like from a visual standpoint, and how do I make sure I keep everything kind of interesting and that there's enough action going on? It's just my gut reaction that maybe you've got really big spaces right now, and I do wonder if you pull those spaces in, kind of like whenever you were playing with the fort area, like that did feel a bit more contained because you're causing the situation where you got the rats and everything else like that. So that to me felt maybe like that spacing was working out a little bit better, where it could keep things moving fast, a little more chaotic, but then maybe you're intentionally opening up the space just to let people kind of breathe and kind of go, okay, I can relax after that intense moment. Yep. Yep. And that's, I'll shut up after that.
All right, Ron. Okay, well, I'll try to go quickly. I want to address the elephant in the room. So how did you come up with the term dingus?
Structures. It's short for pinball, gear, and structure.
Yes, gear and structure.
Okay, and that's not player facing. They don't see the terms.
Well, it would come up in dialogue, but.
Okay.
Is this a kid's game?
Well,
I would say that's mostly like the placeholder name, the development name at this point. for the most
okay.
part.
Well, go ahead and choose the real name. I mean, I was curious. I'm like, is there something I don't know? So I looked it up, immediately regretted it. It's literally a Spanish slang term for what we all know. And so, yes. So,
I didn't know that either.
I didn't either. Right? So obviously, you wouldn't be able to use that term. So it's probably going to behoove you to figure out the term that you would use with guests and start players with, and you start using that. I agree that both Cheryl and Chris had said it was clear to them now that it's a pinball game. I think that you could have used a little reminder at the beginning, especially since the demo wasn't what the game was, to help establish that. We had some conversations, so it was still clear in my mind about what was going on in this, but it's been a month, so it's good to kind of refresh people what you're doing. You can absolutely recruit your own playtesters and should. So it shouldn't be like, well, we can't playtest because there's not a group of high schoolers that can bring in. You can recruit your own playtesters and should. It seemed like maybe the presentation itself was running long. I'm not sure about that. If you may have exceeded the target that Rick set for you, did you give them a time target for the presentation duration?
I tell them, everything combined should get to about 40 minutes, and so far we're at 53.
Do they have a goal for their own presentation time itself?
I don't, I normally say, like, the longer yours goes, the less feedback we get.
Yes, okay. Well, then just consider that, because that is a phenomenon. Because there were parts I think you could have kind of trimmed down that we didn't necessarily need to know about. It's hard to figure out what to say and what not to say. Most playtesters won't know that you can destroy that plank to create a ramp. So you'll have to probably tutorialize to get things like that out in the open. Really cool objective and exit test. And then finally, I love the failure gutter that you had, and would love to see more tunnels and gutters and more pinball-y things. I think that plays to that idea well. But the gutter was too dark, we couldn't really see it, so I would have fallen in and been irritated that happened. Of course, it was so charming to roll down it again. It reminded me of those like fair rides that are kind of like that. So I love that. Overall, I think the gameplay is solid. Nick's right, you don't fully quite have a vertical slice, and let's be honest, most teams didn't quite fully get there, and then everything that you show on the screen should be done. That's very hard to do in 2 months, so you have my sympathy, 7 weeks to be exact. But I think you mostly did, and the gameplay looks very fun, and I'm encouraged by what you have. The part with the rats and that whole sequence was superb, and then the skee-ballish one after that, awesome. So I'm excited about what you have.
Thank you. Great.
Cool. All right, we're way over time though, so we'll call it a day. All right, thanks a lot.